bidding climate. Is that correct?
No, I would not.
And I would also support that statement by Arno, given the tight timeline of our aggressive summer slammer, in which we're looking to do the work this school recess. If we did go back out to bid, we would miss that deadline for certain.
Okay, so a lot of good reasons. And our experience with putting things back out to bid is the numbers always come in higher anyway.
You run that risk, yes.
So Arno, did you review the apparent low bidder, JC Floor Covering?
We did review their bid. Once we got it back to the office and started digging into their update statement, we found that their work in progress, or work under contract, I should say, the aggregate amount of the aggregate dollar amount, I should say, of the work they have in progress exceeded their aggregate limit on their DCAM certificate of eligibility. They had roughly, I didn't count it to the penny, but it was a little bit of about $3 million worth of work that they had ongoing, that they actually reported that was ongoing in their update statement, as a total aggregate of $1 million. So they're a little over leveraged on their workload.
So Arno, they didn't miss by a little, they missed by a lot.
A lot, yes. They did try to resubmit an updated in-progress work schedule, but I think at this point you can't do, the update statement is an important document and it needs to be accurate, and you don't know which document I should say what they're really actually reporting on their forms. So it really is, they're really not eligible. It's not a responsible bid. So we don't believe it's a valid bid.
So you're recommending to us that we reject the apparent low bidder, is that correct?
Yes, I am suggesting that.
Mark, do you have any comments on that?
Well, for the presentation, I shared on the screen the bid tabulation, in which JC covering, the floor covering, is the apparent low bidder with the $9,000 spread. The unit prices were all filled out by both bidders, and all four of the, or five pieces, the signed bid form, the acknowledgement of the addenda, the certificate of eligibility, the update statement, and the bid bond were each provided by both bidder. It's this column right here, the update statement, that JC Flooring had identified work 3 times their allowable DCAM maximum limit. And so I've reviewed the draft letter, or the letter that Arno had sent with the recommendation of award to Jeremy and the MDC chair, and I fully support and endorse the recommendation for FJ Roberts Floors to be the entity that the city of Attleboro contract with for the specific performance of this project.
And Arno, you also, I know you put it in writing to us, but you've checked out the references for the second apparent low bidder, and you're satisfied that this bidder is well qualified?
Yes, we did review their references and did find them to be a qualified contractor and certainly eligible to do this project.
So I've posted this letter on the screen for the committee review. But yes, this is Arno's letter indicating the recommendation the identification that J.C. Floor submitted a bid, but that the update statement, work in progress, was beyond their upset limit. And then these are the references, the reference check that CBI Socotec did. And each of them came back with very positive results.
Okay, so we are then going to be taking two votes. One is to reject the apparent low bidder, and the second is to make a recommendation to the mayor to award to the other bidder. That's correct, Mark?
Yes, please.
And so before we get to our motion and discussion, any questions from the commission members for either Arno or Mark?
Just on the unit price items, I wasn't 100% how they were being applied with one. The unit prices seem to be double, but I don't understand how they're included in the contract.
Okay, so Arno can speak more on it, but it's my understanding that within the bid document itself, CBI Socotec had listed out a number of lineal and square feet for each of the different unit prices that may be required or was to be included within their base bid. And should that work, which is currently concealed, not be required or to be required in limits beyond what was identified, there would either be a credit for unused work, unused lineal footage or square footage, or there would be an add for unused or added scope of work. You are correct, sir, that JC Floor Covering had a unit price for item 1 at $10 per lineal foot, whereas FJ Roberts had $25.50. For unit price 2, JC Floor Covering was $10 versus $10.20 for FJ Roberts. And JC Floor Covering was at $1 for a unit price number 3 compared to $2.08 on a per square foot basis for unit price number 3. So yes, 2 of the 3 are higher on a unit price basis by FJ Roberts, but hopefully we will not exceed the amount that was included within the base bid, and that the substrate conditions beneath the existing flooring are adequate and we won't require a lot of excess work.
Right, so if the project goes to a T where the unit quantities that are in the base bid are the exact unit quantities that are there, then these become irrelevant. So the base bid, or the base quantities are in the base bid. So then for unit price number 1, should there be 1 linear foot less, so to speak, FJ Roberts would credit us $25. And if there's 1 linear foot more, we would get a change order for another $25 to add.
So it's a two-edged sword.
Exactly. So if we overestimated, the higher unit prices mean we get a bigger credit back, but if we overestimated, that means our change order is going to be higher.
Underestimated, yes.
Underestimated.
Right,
Thank you.
but it does not affect the bid.
Correct. The base quantities, right, the base quantities are in the base bid.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah, so the potential to have a credit is higher, but the potential for an add is higher as well. So
That's
Exactly.
the two-edged sword. And to the extent that Arno has a really good conservative estimate, we may benefit. So Arno,
That's right.
if your numbers are wild and way under, we'll reserve the right to criticize you later.
Fair enough.
I will say we got a credit change order on the last project that Arno worked on from the contractor on unit prices from the roofing project.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So therefore, any other questions? Then I guess we should do it as 2 motions. A motion to reject JC Floor Covering on the grounds that they have exceeded their contractor update allowance, if that's the right wording. Is that the right wording, Mark?
Aggregate work limit.
They've
Yes.
exceeded their aggregate work limit.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Terry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes, that passes unanimously. And then the second motion would be to recommend to the mayor the awarding of a contract to F.J. Roberts Floors in the amount of $448,977 for this project.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Jeremy?
Terry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes, so that passes unanimously. As long as we have Arno and Mark here, can I ask what's going on with the fire station roofs?
I'll be happy to answer that question. I just want to give one piece of information to the commission. We were waiting for this meeting and your decision as to which way we were going to go. Arno has been working on the AIA contract in draft form to the extent that he could fill out certain elements of it. Arno, can you give us an update as to when you can transmit the AIA contract to the city, to Jeremy, so that you can forward it to the solicitor and ultimately to the mayor, so that we can expedite the issuance and obtaining of a bona fide contract?
I should be able to get it over tomorrow afternoon, but if not, at least Friday morning.
Okay,
Okay, great, thank you.
and that means we can have a fully executed contract and purchase order by early to mid next week.
Yeah, and we already had the solicitor's usual changes in the base contract document, right?
Right, she reviewed the AIA contract that Arno's working off of for the fire department roof contract, so yes.
Okay, so.
Okay, and that was the perfect segue into the fire department roof project. So the work is substantially complete. A certificate of substantial completion has been generated by CBI Socotec. It has been signed by the contractor, and Jeremy, is it in your hands now?
I sent it back to Arno for the contractor to sign. I don't recall getting it back from the contractor.
Okay, Arno, do you have it?
I don't have it. I forwarded it on to ask for him to sign it, and I realized I didn't get a response back, so I will follow up with him
Do we know
first
what
thing in the
date-
morning. And find
Do we
out
know
what
what date substantial completion was achieved?
March 9th.
And,
That-
are
That
we-
was when the edge metal work had all been completed,
Yeah.
and the buildings are leak-free. They are, the project has achieved at least 99% completion. The only items that are outstanding are the certification by the roofing manufacturer from their field visit, the copy of the field report, and obviously all of the operation and maintenance manuals and the warranties and closeout documents. So as of March, the date of substantial completion is going to be March 9th, and we're looking forward to closing this contract out as quickly as possible.
No punch list?
The architect is going to do their final review alongside and with the manufacturer's representative. And at that time, if there is a punch list, both CBI Socotec and I will be there to document it. And then the contractor will, of course, be there as well, so that they can address any items identified in the warranty walkthrough.
And, so are we going to have a bill to pay for our meeting next week, for either you or Arno or the contractor?
I can speak about myself. Yes, you will have an invoice from Bork Construction Consulting for work performed in the month of March. Arno, will you be submitting a bill?
Yes. It won't be the final bill, obviously, because we haven't completed our final bill. There will be a in progress bill.
And when Arno and I speak to the contractor tomorrow, we will ask them what their intentions are with regard to submitting a requisition. As indicated, or as previously presented to this commission, their one and only requisition was for work completed through the end of December. And they didn't bill us at the end of January or February. And at the time, at each of the 2 monthly updates since then, I had indicated that they were underbilled. So you have had the benefit of not having to pay for work that was actually completed in the field for the past 2 months. So I would expect an invoice or a requisition from them, but it's up to them as to their capacity in their office in order to achieve that within the required timeline.
I'm not advocating for paying a bill, I'm just wondering. And so it's fair to say now that both Mark and Arno are satisfied with the work, subject to the manufacturer's review?
And subject to our own final inspection with the manufacturer and contractor for the final walkthrough.
And when we had a monsoon last week, we didn't have any leaks?
None reported to me, none that I'm aware of. And I can tell you, I've been up on the roof, for, I don't know, 22 days in the past 60 or 90. I think it's in terrific condition. I think it's in good shape. If there are any punchless items, they're so extraordinarily minor. So I just don't see any major issues or concerns. I think we got great value, and given the amount of recent rains that we've had since the roof went down, I think we've been very lucky to get the project completed as quickly as we did back in November and December.
And then, if I remember right, it appears that the bricks may need repointing at one or both of the buildings?
More so at the headquarters projects, yes. Although both buildings do need maintenance, the block is at the Briggs corner is hydrophilic. That means that moisture has a tendency to pass through that and to be absorbed by the block. And the exterior coatings or paint or waterproofing are the mechanism to protect the moisture infiltration through the block. And there has been a certain degree of deferred maintenance to each of the buildings associated with their vertical wall conditions. So yes, I would advocate for the city to address deferred maintenance at both of those buildings.
And would you say that this is critical, or is this something that could wait a year, or do you have any opinion on that?
Well, understanding that the repointing of the headquarters building would have to be put together in a bid package by a registered architect or engineering firm. Understanding it would need to be procured at the AE level and then at the construction side. I think if you started that project now, you might not get to it, or the work might not be able to be completed until later this fall, winter, or into next year. So I think regardless, it's a next year project as it stands. So I don't know whether or not there are any on-call lists that the city has, and whether or not you have in-house resources for addressing these types of maintenance items. But if you are going to bid it out and procure it, I think it is a many month, if not a next year project.
And is this something that, after you've spent so many days on this building, is this something that appears to be critical to maintain the integrity of the building or buildings?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, maintenance of building envelope is critical to the health and safety and to the environmental, the indoor air quality of your occupied buildings. I would definitely advocate that this work occur sooner than later.
Jeremy's taking notes. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Arno?
Nope, I'm all set on my end.
Okay. Any questions for either of them? Then I would say we probably are done for the evening, or is that correct?
Yeah, can I give the committee just one update? The repointing building envelope reminded me, if you've been here during rain, during not rain, you've seen the buckets that we have places, you've seen the,
Talking about City Hall.
yeah, you've seen the damage to the ceiling in the front. If you go to the second floor, you can see the drop ceiling that's damaged. So we're having a firm come in to do a building envelope survey and to give a broad-based budget on what work needs to be done and how much we think it would cost, and then to get a plan going forward. So it's not, it's not an architect coming in and designing anything. We're just trying to figure out the scope of the work and get a budget to work forward from there, and then we line up the financing or the funding. So that's in the offing. It will be assigned to NBC once we kind of get our hands around it a little bit more, but that's coming.
Would this be something that
Jeremy,
we might combine
I
with
was going to
the?
ask,
Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
well, I was just going to ask Jeremy, has the city considered doing an existing condition study of all of your municipal buildings so that you can address them on a annual basis, so that you can, plan for this?
Mark, you need to define the word city.
Jack has considered this and has expressed it on a number of occasions, yes.
And Jeremy, I think, agrees with me.
I do.
But, we have a mayor, we have council, and so I think, though, that the problem is we don't know what we don't know, and that always worries me. Would it be feasible, Jeremy, to, for instance, try to do the building envelope for this building and the building envelope for the fire station as a combined project, or not?
I think I would want it as two separate projects so we could track it differently on our capital assets. But that's not to say we can't do both.
Okay.
Yeah, we have finite resources and nearly infinite needs, Mark. So yes, we've talked about it.
It makes sense.
Not quite there yet.
I know, but doing them one-off, doing evaluations and assessments one at a time, you're actually paying more
Yeah.
for it. So you might be able to get bigger bang for your buck if you were to group your evaluations through one single RFP. You're going to be getting a greater buying power.
Makes sense.
Just saying.
So
I'll let it
we'll
go
have
from
to,
there.
we'll have to have some discussions with the powers that be as to, how they want to approach this, but one of the problems that we've identified in the past is that we put Band-Aids on gaping wounds, and we wait until they're gaping before we go looking for a Band-Aid. And I understand that there are limited resources, but it also means generally the work costs more because we wait too long. And I would hope we could stop repeating those mistakes, but you never know. So,
That's all from me.
all right, thank you, Mark, thank you, Arno. Our next
Thank you.
meeting is next Wednesday.
Yep.
Same time, same place.
We need to move to adjourn?
Second.
Jeremy, do you want to call the roll at 5:57?
Terry,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes, we are adjourned.
Good night.
Thank you.
Right.
Right.